Well, hi, Cindy. Thanks for joining me for this conversation about our awardees. I'm so excited to be giving you our Pennsylvania Watershed Champion Award for 2025. Thanks for joining us and chatting with me today.
Thank you. I'm thrilled and honored to be selected.
Awesome. Well, we're excited to honor you for all of your work. So to help our audience and our stakeholders learn a little bit more about you, could you just introduce yourself and what role you play in the community?
My name is Cindy Pizziketti, and I think it's 9 years this year, I became a Master Watershed Steward. And the real reason I was going to become a Master Watershed Steward was that I was doing an educational program with homeschool children, and I wanted to expand my knowledge of what I could share with them, not knowing the whole world that the whole program was going to open up to me. When I started the program, I imagined that I was going to be playing in the creek the way I did when I was a kid, and that was what the Master Watershed Steward program, that stewarding the water was about being on the in the water. I had no idea how much of my time and energy would be spent on the land and how the land, what a watershed is, how a watershed is where the water sheds off the land and goes in the water, and how much we impact that water. That first number, when I was listening to them talk about the Clean Water Act and how originally the Clean Water Act changed where it was point source pollution, it was non-point source pollution before the Clean Water Act, and afterwards it was point source pollution before the Clean Water Act, and afterwards it was non-point source pollution, which meant that it was people like me that were the source of the pollution. And I kind of hit the ground running, trying a whole bunch of different avenues and things to figure out what I could do to impact that.
That's great. The watershed stewards are certainly an important part of our volunteer work and our just knowledge base up in Pennsylvania. So we certainly enjoy working with the watershed stewards, and I'm glad you got your start there too, Cindy. Could you talk a little bit about some of the ways that you dedicate your time and collaborate with the Alliance and the work that you do with us?
Sure. Um, I'm so excited when it becomes comes time for tree planting season. Because first of all, just because it's spring, and spring is just that whole rebirth and stuff, and the excitement of getting out and putting those trees. Everyone laughs when I'm in the the field. They're like, you know it's Cindy because you can hear her talking to the trees. Take the tree out of its little pot, give it its little pep talk, tell it it's going to be a good tree, encourage it to grow big and prosper. And at first, I was just really, really excited by the idea of putting the trees in. Now I know the hard work of maintaining those trees. About to me, like every tree is like a little child that I put in the thing. The devastation when voles get in, or when you get the tree so big that then the deer push it down or something. I really, and then everyone you work with is so knowledgeable and they'll share like so much stuff. And I've learned so much about a buffer and how to make a buffer, hopefully, how to grow a buffer and the impact that the buffers can make for our waterways in agriculture and in just in our regular landscape. So that's been exciting. Recently, I've gotten to help with the Project Clean Stream. I enjoy Project Clean Stream because it also feels like you're making an impact. You're going right to where the creek is and you're pulling trash out before it gets in there. It's kind of disheartening because it makes you wonder how come everyone can't see what you can see in terms of just pulling it out. And when I'm doing programs for children, one of the things I'll say, what can you do to make this better? And they'll always talk about litter. I'm saying it's not just to say that you won't put litter down, but if you see something, say you're walking to the grocery store and you see that little circular flying by, pick it up, put it in the trash can on your way in. It's so easy to take the little steps. A lot of what this helped me was that it gave me a feeling of empowerment. There's so much you hear on the news and the television, and you can feel so helpless. This gives me something. I can't fix everything. I don't have a control or over a lot of stuff, but I can go out and take care of the trees that I planted. I can go out and help somebody else put in a buffer that they're looking forward to doing.
That's great, and a great reminder that we all need to think locally. That's where all of us can help really affect change. Yeah, great reminder. So, Cindy, every year the Alliance recognizes watershed champions in each of the four of our regions. And a watershed champion is someone whose efforts have had long-lasting impact on the restoration and protection of the Chesapeake Bay and demonstrates innovation and initiative, and who helps foster partnerships to advance environmental stewardship in our watershed. You are obviously very worthy of that. So could you tell us what it means to you to receive this award and what you would say to others to empower them to play a role in their community?
Yeah, well, I think the most empowering thing is that I'm not an environmentalist. I wasn't somebody who you would have said was con really conservation minded until probably the last 20 years when I started doing more and more stuff and seeing what the changes that I could make impact. Yeah, I would basically say that is that everyone can take just a little step. You don't have to go out and try to save the world. You can start in your yard. We talk about how suburbia, and I live in a suburban area, how much of an impact that makes on the waterways. And drive down my thing and drive down my street, and everyone is just they mow their lawn as short as it can be mowed. They ride around on these little mowers on a tenth of an acre. They blow the grass and blow the leaves out so that they can have everything just pristinely clean. And I'm waiting for that paradigm shift because during World War II, we all had victory gardens in our front yard. We wouldn't have thought about it. So there has to be a paradigm shift that we can all start and think about. And when I first started, I didn't think that people realized, at least in my neighborhood, that everything that runs off the water, everything that runs off our streets goes into a storm drain, and the storm drain goes right into the creeks. In Pennsylvania, when you live in my county, York County, everything that goes into the storm drains just goes directly into the creeks. I would see people throwing trash in there, people like not wanting to carry their dog poop all the way home, people dumping paint because you're not supposed to have a paint can full of paint in the thing. And sometimes it's just education. So maybe we just keep getting the words out. And that's part of why I enjoy working with young people, because if they can take those words and take them home to their family, it spreads it that much further. And the young people, they're the future, right? If they feel empowered to take care of it, then hopefully things will be a little different as we get older. We'll
That's
have something
great.
to pass on. Because you know that when you plant a hickory tree, I'm never probably going to see that hickory tree make a nut, but I'm doing that for the future.
That's right. That's some great advice that you can, affect change in your own backyard, and that you don't have to be an environmental scientist or have a background in it, but you can really be impactful in your own community. That's great advice. Cindy, as you're thinking about other folks who have yet to get involved or anything, do you have maybe a favorite story you could share with folks that might, help maybe draw someone in or become interested in this work? Is there a favorite story you might want to share about your work?
Well, one of the stories that I would like to share is to be the Lorax. Even if you think that you don't have time to be out there planting trees, if you don't have time to do anything, because I will acknowledge that having a rain garden takes more time than driving your mower straight across your lawn, that you don't have time for those things, that you can be the Lorax for the water. The water has no one to speak for it. But in the state of Pennsylvania, the water is all our waterways. If you see something, say something, because no one can be everywhere monitoring what's happening. And the people from the Department of Environmental Protection, they'll come out if you call them and they'll follow up. I remember calling this guy because the water was all milky and stuff. And I was so excited that he came. I'm following up the thing. Finally, he turns to me, he goes, "This is private property. You're no longer allowed to follow me up the property."
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. But I just feel like anybody can do that. I know that one of the things that I get to do is I w the Lower Susquehanna River Keeper works with last year, it was, you guys honored, what was her she Jules Vestine,
Jules Vastine, correct.
a part of Alarm, and, I'm a stream monitor, so I get to go out every month and get in that creek and see it, and it makes me less of a fair weather friend to the creek. I see it when the snows, I see when the and so I realized that there was something very, very wrong with the creek and the water, watched the chemistries explode, and called the river keeper and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And about 3 miles up ahead further up, there was a landfill. It used to be a valley when it first started, and now it's the highest point in my watershed of Croix Creek, and their wastewater treatment plant had failed. And so the amount of pollution that they were putting in, I would never have known that if I hadn't been in the water all the time, if
Mm-hmm.
checking it every month and watching it. And anybody can yeah, if you see something, say something.
Yeah, that's great. Again, the importance of keeping it local and really focusing in your own community, in your backyard, and being able to positively impact change. It's a great story. So as we wrap up here, Cindy, I would love to hear what gives you hope for the future. There's so much that's challenging us out there. You alluded to a lot of it, but what do you see for the future that's giving you hope, and what's help keep you jumping out of bed in the morning?
First of all, I have a lot of baby trees to tend. So the maintenance on a buffer is endless, and those trees always want something from you. And even if it's the exciting stuff when you get that first locust, because locust trees are nitrogen fixers, so they're the biggest and fastest up and out of their tubes, and they're splitting out of your tubes, and you can help them take their tubes off and be free. So some of it is that, just seeing what I've planted come to fruition, watching it happen. So that's always exciting. And the whole the things that Alliance is doing to change how we care for our creeks and the buffers around it, that really it, it just keeps you going to know, yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you, Cindy, for joining us. We are so excited to honor you on September 4th in Marietta for all of your hard work. So thanks for joining me today to chat about your hard work and your dedication to a cleaner Chesapeake Bay.
Thank you.